Welcome, welcome to the Shut Your Mouth Lounge. I'm Alex. That's Ati over there. It's episode 92. This is going to be another weird one because my computer is currently not having. Yes, currently cursed. So we're recording from Ati's perspective, and I am in the Discord call through my phone. But hey, upside, I can walk around while talking now, so that's nice. Today we've mostly got Nintendo-related topics because hey, Nintendo Direct, it was a thing. And the first one up is it's a lot of topics that I wish Pink were here for, but the Halloween season is going on, and like that means everything is going ape shit at his job. So how else can the screaming kids get their sugar intake? But the first topic is Overwatch is being ported to Switch, which is was Diablo 3 put on a Nintendo console at some point? I was about I turned Canadian there for a second. I was about to ask, is this the first Blizzard game that's ever been put on a Nintendo console? But I feel like there was something real fucking weird, like StarCraft 1 got ported to Nintendo 64 a decade ago or something. Why? The only explanation you ever need. So, yeah, Overwatch being brought to Switch, it's perhaps a little late. I feel like they could have struck the iron a little earlier when it was a little hotter. I mean, Overwatch is in kind of an awkward spot now where it's got a bad reputation because of the rigid meta and how the plot has pretty much gone nowhere. And I mean, the Switch is still like a absurdly hot product, but I have to question part of it because isn't a big part of the Switch just that it's going nuts in Japan? Because Japan loves its portables. We know that. Yeah. That well, I mean, if because part of the whole thing is right, like them playing games on the Metro and all that shit, right? Hell, didn't Persona 5, am I getting Persona 5 and Persona 3 confused when I say, didn't Persona 5 have a section where you could play video games while you're on the Metro? Right, right. Persona 4 and Persona 3, you got to have actual video game consoles, but the Persona 5 protagonist got stuck with an NES. Didn't the NES somehow actually give you skills? That makes no sense. I have played plenty of Street Fighter, and I have yet to figure out how to properly punch someone. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, God. If I can do an Azuna drop in real life, then I think that already gets me a Guinness World Record. So that'd be pretty sweet. I'd like to see that biggest flipping jump suplex Guinness World Record. That world record's probably just held by Pac or Neville, isn't it? That seems like something he'd do. Wrestling plus flips. I mean, what other competitors would there be? I mean, there'd be someone that would have tried it at some point, but they would have killed themselves in the process. Because the Azuna drop is a dumb anime move. That's not the best, but it's up there. There are some flaccid. I'm hard pressed to think of one right now. And where he hits the guy so hard that the guy gets embedded into the ground is pretty good. I've yet to see them do that with an Azuna. They did that with Zangief in Street Fighter V. He can German suplex you so hard you get embedded in the ground. But no Azuna drops for good old Zangief. Ah. So yeah, Overwatch is coming to the Switch. It's a little bit odd, but better late than never, I guess. Another couple little bits of news from the Nintendo Direct. They are making a Nintendo exclusive Star Wars Jedi Knight 2. Now, how much do you know about Star Wars Jedi Knight series, Addy? I'll take that as fucking nothing. In which case, you are on equal. How long have I been disconnected? Oh, fuck me. So you could hear my voice from like the other side of the room as I'm walking around? That's awesome. That's actually really funny. I like that. I'm glad we got that on recording. My computer and my phone are fucking duking it out. The phone is winning, but the computer refuses to give up. Right. So, how much do you know about the Star Wars? What was the last thing that I said that was actually legible? Oh, right. They haven't. What I was saying was, I'm always a big fan of the moves where they just hit the guy so hard they get embedded into the pavement. Really? Which ones? I'm sorry. You cut out on my end, but keep going. You're the one who's recording, anyways. Huh. Yeah, I don't remember seeing that, but I do believe you. It sounds like a move that would happen. Ah. Anyways, yeah, Overwatch is. Yep. I linked over into Star Wars, but the fucking thing connected. My PC was like, no, not today. So, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2. That's the next topic. Yeah, let's not even really transition. Star Wars Jedi Knight 2. So, Addy, how much do you know about the Star Wars Jedi Knight series? I don't know. I feel like that may have been a spinoff. Yeah, and Kodor is the one they're probably not going to give out because they actually talk about like politics and stuff. Microsoft's like, no. Did you finish Kodor 2? Did you? Yeah, that becomes an increasing problem with RPGs. They have such a time investment relative to what you get out of them, comparative to other, genres. But yes, I believe Jedi Academy is a spinoff of the Jedi Knight series. And I could have swore there was already a Jedi Knight too, but I may be wrong. But regardless, there's going to be a new Nintendo exclusive Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. Kyle Katarn is back, which is. Hang on, is this a remaster? If Pink were here, this wouldn't happen. That's the thing. Because Pink knows more about Star Wars than either of us. I'm about ready to eat shit here. Yes, it was. I have now eaten shit twice. This is already the shit eaten counter has jumped to 2 for this podcast, and we're only like 10 minutes in. My I'm currently at cool level of shit eating. Oh, what's the C level in DMC5? I feel like it was cool in DMC3 or DMC1 because that's one of the simpler ones, and they find a new version of it for every game. The only one that stays between games is that S is stylish. And you know what? I think Triple S is always smoking sexy stylish. But yeah, so whoops, eat shit on that one. Lots of people just putting their older games onto the Switch, isn't it? Which, I mean, admittedly, it is a Nintendo console. Of course, it's selling based on nostalgia. Speak. I mean, it is a good investment. I have a Switch so that I can play Street Fighter 3 anywhere I want. So, but hey, speaking of nostalgia, guess what? They're finally adding some fucking SNES games to the Nintendo Switch Online because we've been asking that for forever. And it's not the best selection, but it's a pretty good one. Looking over it, we got. No, you go ahead. Contra 3 is considered the classic by a lot of people. Right, but you are not everyone. That's the thing. So the release, yeah, Contra is not on the list. By the way, I don't think Konami is going to bother putting any out because, for one thing, Konami is. Did you see that headline that Konami says they're going to try and get back into making video games for consoles, and it pretty much is at the same time that Japan is cracking down on pachinko machines. Uh huh. Yeah, if you want to be a stupid fucking gambler, knock yourself out. It pisses me off that a lot of my favorite games did disappear to go to pachinko, but at the end of the day, they could have done that, or they could have just switched to mobile games. There are a thousand bad things that can happen to a franchise. Pachinko is just one of them. You've not saved Contra by the death through the death of Pachinko. No, I haven't, but it did look pretty garish. So, but you haven't played it though. Do you know about the gameplay? Do you know about the gameplay enough to provide constructive criticism? You mean switching to a top-down shooter? I thought the classic Contras were like run and gun. No, it doesn't need auto scroll. Auto scroll is there a lot of times, but you don't need it. All right, all right. But yeah, anyways, so the SNES selection that they're adding here is Brawl Bothers, yes. Brawl Brothers, Breath of Fire, Demon's Crest, F-Zero, Joe and Mac 2, Joe and Mac 2, okay. Kirby's Dream Course, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Pilot Wings, Star Fox, Stunt Race FX, Super EDF, Earth Defense Force. I did not know Earth Defense Force was that old of a franchise. Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Super Metroid, Super Puyo Puyo 3. No, that's it. My eyes are failing me. Super Soccer, Super Tennis, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. There are some choices there that admittedly, I'm not like the biggest retro gamer ever. I think you're probably more knowledgeable about retro gaming than I am. But I know enough to see this, and I know enough to look at this and say Super Mario World is a good pick. I feel like that's not a thing in in America. I feel like you got a different name for another game. I feel like you got something. I feel like there's like a translation difference. You know, there's sometimes weird shit where like they brought Sengoku Basra to the West. Yeah, or they brought yeah, or Sengoku Basra getting brought to the West as Devil Kids, like that kind of thing. You know. Yeah, but Hudson here could be a localization thing. Oh, it was. Oh, you keep saying Hudson's Adventure Island, and that throws me off. I feel like I have heard of Adventure Island. I've just never heard it referred to as Hudson's Adventure Island. Well, I mean, props to them for doing something unique, I guess. Yeah, I think you've told this story before. Yeah, I was about to say, sensing some inconsistency here. Oh man, Soon's gonna come kick your ass the next time you say that you don't like dinosaurs. He takes that shit personally. Yeah, I mean, velociraptors are fucking sick. I don't like. I'm not huge on dinosaurs either, but velociraptors are fucking sick. You know what I also like? I like the tiny little compies. The hordes of tiny velociraptors that shred people. That's that's a fantastic. And you know what? I don't like lizard dinos. I'm really starting to like bird dinos. I want I want a Turok sequel in the modern day, and you have to go fight a T Rex, but it's a giant chicken. Gears 3 is back again. So back to the SNES selection. Are there any of your particular favorites on this list? I feel like we could have Pink here to just sing us a grand tale of the wonders of Super Mario World. This was a podcast built for Pink. It's a fucking Nintendo Direct based podcast right now. Jesus, I'll definitely get. I'll definitely try a lot of these games out. I'll probably finish Link to the Past. Not even if I don't like it, I'll finish it just because it's Link to the Past. Everybody fucking talks all about it all the time. And Link to the Past is the only one you didn't hate. Aren't the DS ones basically just Link to the Past but introducing weird gimmicks like co-op? Because they're okay. The Wind Waker timeline ones. Okay, I was talking about Minish Cap and Four Swords. Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I've not heard good things about Phantom Hourglass. And what was the train one? Was that Phantom Hourglass? The one where Zelda was a ghost arm. The one where Zelda was a giant demon knight that followed Link around. Boy, what was Nintendo doing? Yeah, right, right. Yes, yes, yes. I am now remembering it. And yes, yeah. I thought you were about to say like Tingle's freshly picked child dungeon or something. I don't. I. It's this thing, right? Of like, what is the American equivalent to that? Of like an American joke that if brought to Japan, they wouldn't get, but then we keep doing it anyway. I don't know. Japan's so much more xenophobic. I'm sorry? What's up? Well, that's a language thing. That's part of the thing. Like, Tingle, it's not a language thing, it's more of a culture thing. They find it funny to have him be a weird, freaky, big nosed, creepy guy who pervs on people in a skin tight green suit in his 40s, yet acting like a child. They find that all very funny. Americans don't. And, like, it doesn't matter how you handle the translation, it's always going to come through as, okay. No. Oh, yeah. Well, he hasn't showed up in a main entry since Wind Waker. I want to say they did manage to include him in Warriors of Hyrule, but other than that, we have not seen Tingle in the West in 10 years, 15 years probably. Tingle? You set me up there. A sexy female tingle? Is she his wife? Because Japan, one of Japan's favorite gags is how to have a stinky, bald, short, fat man whose wife is like statuesque and beautiful. I don't understand. I don't think we're meant to understand. It's a different level. They're just fucked up in a different way than we are. Ah, man. Other than that, I mean, there's Star Fox and F Zero, both of which I entirely forgot were SNES debuts. Because those both seem like integrally 3D titles, don't they? Like, when I think of Star Fox, I don't think of Star Fox. I think of Star Fox 64. Well, yeah, I guess that's fair. I always see clips from the GameCube one, which, oh yeah, afterwards Shigeru Miyamoto killed everybody else on the dev team. Nobody else was worthy to touch his baby. I'm shocked. I'm kind of shocked to see Nintendo acknowledging F Zero's existence ever again, outside of it including Captain Falcon in every Smash game ever, and always including a fucking F Zero track in Mario Kart, but not Captain Falcon himself. The most logical crossover racer Nintendo could have, but no. I don't know, maybe it's because Captain Falcon carries a gun on his belt. Who knows? I would not want that. If you get Captain Falcon in a like battle racer or a vehicular combat game, you can't just give him a gun. You've got to give him some way that he can do the Falcon Punch, Falcon Kick, all that shit from his car. Now you're thinking with Twisted Metal. Oh man, did you ever play Twisted Metal Black? So if you own Twisted Metal Black, by the way, go back and play it because it's fantastic. But Sweet Tooth, every car has an ultimate ability in Twisted Metal, right? Yeah, Sweet Tooth's is his ice cream truck turns into a mech. It fucking transforms like a transformer and gets up and turns into a big ass mech. Yeah, yeah, that's what a serial killer would do with his ice cream truck. He just rolls it into the shop like, I need you to turn this into Optimus Prime. It helps me kill children. Yeah, I guess. Riddler's not a serial killer. He just happens to kill people to get his desired purpose of making Batman look like a stooge. I mean, yeah, I guess it probably counts as a serial killer. Yeah. He just kills people serially, but he's not a serial killer. Yeah. Speaking of serial killers, Deadly Premonition 2 is coming to the Switch as a Switch exclusive, to my understanding, which is pretty huge. I mean, I guess in the era of fucking Bubsy and Shaq Fu getting sequels, this shouldn't shock me. But still, this shocks me because Deadly Premonition is the ultimate good, bad, bad, good game. Like, when people say, it's a good, bad game, what they usually mean is it's so bad, it's funny. Deadly Premonition is something else entirely. It's a different beast. Because, yeah, there are a lot of parts that are so bad they're funny. There are a lot of parts where it's genuinely really good. It experiments with crazy video game concepts no one else had thought of. Like, it's nuts. It's a bizarrely fantastic game. It's the thing is, if you look at like all the sites that congregate reviews, Deadly Premonition has the unique reputation of every review on that page is either a 9, a 10, a 1, or a 2, depending entirely on the critic. So, more of that is absolutely yes. Like I've been wanting for us to do Deadly Premonition's director's cut on the channel for a while now. The problem has simply been getting it working on PC because I've managed to. Yeah, also no internet. Yeah, I need to look into that. But yeah, I have Deadly Premonition director's cut. I was able to get it started, and once I got to like the third mission, it just crashes universally without fail. So FUN. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, the weird thing is they also announced they're releasing a port of Deadly Premonition 1 to the Switch. And it includes some of the additions made by the director's cut, but only some of them. For some reason, some of them got cut out. Like the new stuff they added to the story, the cutscenes that they added back to the story with the director's cut are gone. But they kept the graphics and gameplay updates from the director's cut. It's fucking weird. Regardless, the fact that Deadly Premonition 2 is not only coming out, but like, oh, I need to see if it's actually getting official publishing from Nintendo. Because that's pretty important information. Because there have been plenty of publishers who have picked up Sweary's work before, but almost none of them are really willing to gamble on him, you know? I did not get to play D4. I heard it was really good, but they weren't able to get the third episode. Yeah, that's the thing with Sweary. Like, he makes very good games, but he's also a huge weirdo, and publishers don't really want to get behind that. That's what's confusing to me. I think it was crowdfunded. I think that was what the problem was. I think they were able to crowdfund the first two episodes, but then when they had to crowdfund the third, nobody fucking fessed up. Which turned out to be actually kind of crazy because I think D4 was actually really popular with LPers. Yes, that is Sweary. Yeah, yeah. Sweary is gaming's David Lynch. He intends on that. You can play through Deadly Premonition and you're like, wow, this is just Twin Peaks, the video game. He's very, very, very David Lynch, which is good because video games always need more interesting story perspective. Even if they're completely fucking wacky and actually kind of suck, something new and different is always nice. Something to keep things a little mixed up. Because even if you fuck up and make like a shit game, but it does something different, hopefully someone who's better at games development can see what you did and be like, oh, well, this is some interesting stuff that I could do a lot better. You get what I'm saying? Now, to my understanding, Sweary's most recent work, The Missing, was it called? I believe that was it. Yes, The Missing was actually supposed to be really great. And I think that's a big part of why he's got Nintendo to. Well, he probably hasn't. I can't seem to find any information on who the publisher here is for Deadly Premonition 2. But that's probably why he's able to get. I wish. Then he'd just have the room to go as crazy as he wants. And at the same time, he'd probably bankrupt himself, so that'd be bad. But, you know. But that may have given him the space he needs to make a Deadly Premonition 2. I mean, it's part of the weird thing here is Deadly Premonition 1 had a very definitive ending. That's not a game that left a lot to kind of cover anymore. Uh, you know that problem that a lot of fiction has of, oh fuck, we didn't plan on this getting a sequel? Yeah. To be fair, Harry Potter just used prequels to go back. Oh, right, they did release a sequel book. Oh, fuck, you're right. I forgot about that. I was like, prequels aren't bad, man, and it covers a fairly important series of events. And I was like, oh, shit, right, they did an Old Man Harry book, didn't they? Shit. I mean, Voldemort wasn't always a freaky, weird snake person. That was only really when he got resurrected. Oh, oh, interesting. I'm gonna assume the mom was Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah, and she's really obsessive, and I think, yeah, and she killed old, you know what? I don't know. Yeah, let's just skip that spoiler. But yeah, it makes sense because even like before, when Voldemort was still around and a weird snake person, she was like, "Oh yeah, Voldemort's great. Woo, love him." Apparently she really loved him. I mean, to its credit, from what we've seen for a little bit, it does seem like they're going with the classic way of making a sequel to a game that had a very definitive ending. In terms of, oh, well, it's just going to pick up with an entirely different protagonist with an entirely different case. And it will occasionally mention, like, oh, our protagonist happened to be mentored by the last protagonist. Just happened to be. Which is actually kind of interesting, the way they're handling it, because it looks like they're actually going to handle it in terms of half the game you will play in the present as the new chick solving this new case, and half the game you will play back in time as Francis York Morgan back when he was mentoring her when she was a kid and working on another case. Yeah. I feel like there was another game recently that did that. Shit, I can't remember though. But regardless, that could be very interesting. I mean, for one thing, it's always good to have more Francis York Morgan. He's one of my favorite video game protagonists of all time. Have you ever watched any footage of Deadly Premonition? Yeah, if there's one thing you remember from Deadly Premonition, it's distinctive visuals. Like I said, he's very David Lynch. But Francis York Morgan is famous because he's a bit wacky, and he's definitely uh, not quite, all there. He has an imaginary friend that he talks to named Zach, and he talks to the player directly through his imaginary friend. Sometimes in the middle of the case or in the middle of the cutscene, he'll just put his fingers to his temple and talk to his imaginary friend Zach, but what he's really doing is talking to the player. So it's actually a very efficient way of having the character actually talk to the player, which is nice because most video games have trouble figuring a way around that. Yeah, and then there's Deadpool. Okay, here's how you're going to remember Francis York Morgan. The way he's introduced in that game is He is driving down the road in the middle of a thunderstorm, like with crazy ass winds that look like they're going to flip over the car. He's driving on the side of a cliff. He has, in one hand, he is on the laptop Googling. In another hand, he is lighting up a cigarette. He's got a cell phone pressed between his ear and his shoulder, and he's arguing with someone on the other side of the phone about how Tom and Jerry are actually in a sadomasochistic relationship where they both need each other. And he's steering the car with his foot. He then, of course, yeah, and then he crashes the car. The car flips over the cliff, rolls all the way fucking down. When it lands in a heap, it scares away a pair of squirrels. And the squirrels, what kind of noise do squirrels make? Okay, well, the sound that the squirrels make in that game, when they run away, they make the fucking generic sound bite of monkeys going nuts, of chimpanzees going, ah, 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 that shit. They make that as they run away. And York then calmly crawls out of his car before it explodes and pretty much just goes, huh, well, guess I'm here. And then fucking strolls through the forest to find zombie demons that he guns down without even questioning their presence and never mentions them to the townspeople ever again. Right. Do you remember the giant ass zombie dog? Okay, you should remember that from the Super Best Friends when they walked out of the diner once. They just see a giant fucking Rottweiler on the highway and it stares them down before charging them and whooping their ass. When I say a giant ass Rottweiler, I don't mean human size. I don't mean car size. I mean the thing was the size. Oh, no, 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 no. I mean it was bigger than the fucking diner itself. It was as big as a building. Oh, Huey. Huey the dog in Resident Evil 4, right? You can save him from the bear trap. I've never seen the bug of him getting large. That certainly would change a boss fight later in the game where he comes to help. That's for certain. Well, I've never seen that, but now I want to see it. Ah, more deadly premonition, more wackiness. Always good. All right. Addy, what we got coming out on the channel this week? I'll go ahead and say I got nothing coming out on my channel. I was planning on doing something this week, but, well, at first I was like, oh, well, I'll do Warhammer. And then I was like, oh no, new DLC's coming out. I could start a new save right now and it would immediately be made invalid by the next DLC. And I was like, oh, I could do Total War Medieval. Then I realized I simulate most of the battles in Total War Medieval. I definitely have never played Siege before. I should probably get more practice in before I record that. And I was like, oh, I'll record Civilization 5. And I realized I don't have most of the DLC. In fact, I am missing one of the expansions. So that's not happening either. And the only fighting games I've got on there to record are Street Fighter 4, which I suck at, and Skullgirls, which I suck at. So I do have KOF 2002. The part of the problem with fighting games is what content can I get out of them if I'm not playing against you guys or playing against puppies. Because Skullgirls and Street Fighter 4 and KOF 2002 on PC, those are not going to have the hottest communities right now. If there is any community left for any of those games, it is on console, not PC. Halo Wars, that was a good recording. I liked that one. They were unstoppable. The domination it was. It makes me really excited to try other strategy games with you, which is now you winning that is your fault. Now you must suffer through other strategy games. Oh, it depends on the strategy game, really. Because I mean, what strategy games would you be interested in trying? Because let me tell you, Stellaris, if we ever get around to recording that, we're all on equal footing there. That is going to be a game of us all getting our asses blasted. It's cursed. Oh man, if you can run TF2, if you can run Dota 2, you could probably run Shogun 2 on low settings. Next sale, we need to look into that because that's one we could play versus. I don't think it has multiplayer campaign, but it does definitely have multiplayer versus. And Shogun is as close to pure Total War as you can get because every clan has one unique unit, but other than that, they all share the same roster except for the Ico Ikis who have like an entire roster of monks and Ronin and nothing else. Civ is fantastic. And Civ 4 can run on any potato. Civ 5 can probably run on most computers. I'm not exactly sure. We may have to check the specs for that. The first trick to Civ, I've been trying to get good at Civ in the last week because I've always played Civ. I've never been good at it. I'm trying to get good at it. Apparently, the first thing to do with Civ apparently is just cheese science. No matter what focus you're trying to go for, always cheese science. Not so much nukes, because even if you like are playing the hardest science strategy, you still won't get nukes until like turn 300. And that's if you focus as hard as possible on getting nukes. But it's just that for most of the civilizations in the game, most of their better perks don't come until later in the tech tree. There are exceptions like the Aztecs who are fantastic in the early game, but most of them, especially America, America wants to rush as quickly to the fucking late game as possible. They suck in the early game because guess what? They didn't exist in the early game in real life. But I'll talk more about Civ when we get to it. Alright. Heroes of Might and Magic. I've not tried that. Is it a turn based or is it real time? Okay, what's the latest Heroes of Might and Magic you have? Alright, I'm going to mark down in the Watchtower Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and I will add that to my Steam wish list later today. I mean, the really, I've not played a great degree of strategy games. I haven't played as many strategy games as I'd like to. But it seems like the best way to go with strategy games is to have them be deep and complex, but have it where like the more complex features are managed by the AI until the player feels to take over. Like Civilization, city management is directly handled by the AI until you feel comfortable to directly take over yourself. Hmm. Can everybody access magic? Okay, when we talk fantasy, is everyone just playing humans or are there like a variety of factions? Okay, that's another question to always ask with fantasy is like the human factions are we just limited to like European or can are there also Asian, African, Middle Eastern, Native American factions? Yeah. All right. All right, I'll keep an eye out for it. But yeah, and do you have anything coming out on your channel this week? All right. All right then, Addy, what you done this past week, man? Yes, I've heard a lot about it. It's a roguelike, right? Yeah. Now, was it the one where like it resets every playthrough and you have to go through again, but it keeps the same map? Hmm. Okay, but it being a roguelike, there's I assume still some stuff that's retained playthrough to playthrough. Yeah. I assume there's at least one that's like skip the beginnings. Really? Right, right. I remember that reading about that. Yeah. I love parry instant kills. Oh, okay. Oh, is that a one-hit death game? Okay, so it's just a game where everybody does big damage. Well, I think you're pretty used to that by now. I feel like you can play any game right now other than Ninja Gaiden Black, and it doesn't matter how difficult it is. You playing through it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, this is a walk in the park, easy." Like, man, when we get to the end of Ninja Gaiden Black, I want us all to just play through the first level again. None of the other levels, but just the first level. And it's that I'm not sure if this isn't one of the games that actually automatically raises the difficulty on New Game Plus, though. My thing would just be getting playing through again the first level on normal again, and then just have in the background like fade in that GIF from the Matrix of Neo, who's parrying everything Agent Smith throws out, and he doesn't even understand how he's doing it. You know the GIF I'm talking about? Yeah, specifically over Pink's gameplay. I feel like Pink would really fit for that. That's always my favorite thing when a video game has a hand-to-hand melee weapon and it's just gloves or boots. Well, Dante didn't get the polders and boots thing until 5. Dante's always had a hand-to-hand weapon, but it's been different in every game. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. There's nothing funnier to me than enemies gibbing on something that shouldn't logically give them. Like getting thrown at a wall and a guy just fucking explodes. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. Activate the spirit of the old memes. That sounds like a Dark Souls thing. Being able to kill a boss in 10 hits is good in just about any. Depending on how slow the heavy is. Yeah. Gotta learn the loop, man. It is funny always seeing weapons like that you look at them and you're like, this is only for people who've already played through the game 6. Like, there's a fucking weapon in Ninja Gaiden Black that is supposed to be the most optimal. If you upgrade the wooden sword to the highest level, it turns into an ore, and when you get dropped to like 20% or 10% health, it deals like 10 times the normal amount of damage. Which pros love. Me, I'm personally like, fuck that. You're basically playing in heaven or hell mode for the entire game. Pass. I don't know. I'd rather stick to switching between different weapons than finding a one universal one, personally. With that said, I looked over some of the wiki pages and like strategy stuff for the levels we've already completed just because I wanted to see what the actual optimal strategies was. Did you use the flying bird swallow on the big Japanese tentacle sex monster? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't. Yeah, that's why that fight was a lot harder for me than it was for you. So we need to remind Pink to do that, because otherwise Pink's going to be stuck on that boss fight for a fucking while. And we're going to have to tell him what the flying bird swallow is. Oh, man. I'm excited to get back into it, though. I really want to finish. Because from then on, we do need to finish. Yeah, it's the thing. We need to finish it. It's something like Terraria, where if we don't finish it, it will fucking haunt us. The, the curse will not be lifted until we beat Ninja Gaiden Black. It's like our version of Return This Lab. It's our version of Return This Lab. Oh, fuck. That'd be bad. Could you imagine a Ninja Gaiden Black boss that can just walk away and heal its entire health bar the moment you leave it alone? And he has a command grab that takes off half your health? Fucking Antoine was the worst. I knew we were going to have a rough time going in with Antoine. Like, you remember when we started that fight up? I said, man, I wish you hadn't killed those survivors. No, absolutely not. I figured we would give up within the first 5 minutes and we would just wrap it there, but we kept going. The moose. We had to defeat the chef through the power of Canada. Um, the combined power of Teddy Roosevelt and Canada produces the moose. We have loosed the moose. Broom was not good for damage, it was just good for stun lock. We were doing like shit. It held him there long enough. It held him there long enough for you to go find the moose head. It's a fucking timer scam strat. That's what it is. It's a timer scam. Like what was it that Justin Wong did in Marvel 3 to fucking timer scam? Yeah. But yeah, like fly to the top of the screen and wait that shit out. Fuck you down there. None of your bullshit. Not today. All right. So Dead Cells. One flaw I've heard about it is that once you get into the late game, once you get a really advanced character, it becomes particle gore the game. Like you just can't see what the fuck's happening because there's so much going on screen. Yeah. Yep. It's moments like those, like when you can see what went wrong. I always just imagine, like, in my head, I see Dragon Ball Abridged Piccolo. Dodge! That's my favorite fucking gag in that entire show is how long they spent setting up the dodge, all for that joke near the end where he tells, not near the end of the Saiyan saga where he tells Gohan to dodge at the wrong time, so Gohan does nothing, and then Piccolo just goes, damn you, Pavlov," before dying. Ah, do you fight any fucking killer rabbits? Sounds like Ninja Gaiden Black. Until you beat Ninja Gaiden Black, they will haunt you in every new game you play. Return this lab. Well, there they just throw actual frag grenades. I like to see that shit. It's just blowing up. There's just massive explosions in the middle of Tokyo, and nobody gives a shit because it's Yakuza. You can shoot a guy in broad daylight in Yakuza, and no one cares. Right. No, go ahead. Yeah, Kiryu! Yeah, Yakuza is one of those franchises of fucking Kiryu can genuinely do no wrong. Kiryu could throw a baby out a window, and the series would still act like he's the big hero. The devs would be like, "Oh no, that he didn't throw the baby survived being thrown." No, you see, he landed in the dumpster. The baby, the baby is aggressive. It's like the killer rabbit from fucking Monty Python. Full circle. Like you just see one of the generic Yakuza thugs step up to the cradle, and the baby just flies out and rips his head off. Uh, what, the spinning pizza? There's a difference. I don't know the difference between a clothesline and a lariat, so don't ask me. Probably. Yeah, that makes sense because there's no way Scott is holding on to people with his upper thighs. Ah, All right. Eh, So, what was Yakuza 3's big gameplay innovation? Because Yakuza 3 seems kind of like the odd duck of the series, and I never really been able to figure out what's special about it. Every other entry in the game in the series seems like it has something really special about it, except that one. Is it just Yakuza 2 again? Well, they definitely added Six's innovations to Kiwami 2. I've seen people do that, like chucking people through windows and shit, and then continuing the fight in the restaurant, which is amazing. I cannot emphasize enough how much I love that shit in Yakuza 6 and how sad I am that it's not in any other game other than Kiwami 2. I mean, it's only in Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2 games, both of which only have Kiryu, right? Or was Kiwami 2 the one that had where you could play Majima for a little bit? Can you actually play as Majima and fight? Okay, does Majima still have access to the Dragon System stuff from Yakuza 6 that Kiryu does? Alright, that's a little bit better. I just always kind of found it disappointing that you could only do the Dragon System stuff with Kiryu. Right, they did that a lot with the Kwamis. They added a lot of new segments to build more. Uh, they have a lot of stuff where it takes over stuff from Yakuza 0 that wasn't actually in the original game, you know? That's actually interesting. That actually changes the direction of the series as a whole. If that's really what they were going for. Huh. I mean, there do certainly seem to be times where Majima's more serious from the little bits I've seen. At the same time, I've seen that clip of Yakuza's. What was the zombie Yakuza? Dead Souls. Dead. I've seen a clip of the moment in Dead Souls where Majima finds out about the zombies, and legitimately, a zombie walks into his apartment while he's watching like superhero movies or a porno or something. You know, Majima, and he looks over. He sees a zombie. He is lounging on the couch, not even looking slightly deadly. It cuts over to the zombie looking at him. Then it cuts back to Majima. Majima has a fucking shotgun in his hand and blows the zombie away. And then fucking gets the biggest, toothiest grin and starts laughing his ass off about, woo, zombies, yeah! And like it full on plays it up as Majima loves this zombie shit because he now has an excuse to go out and shoot random people on the street. So, yeah, when you say Day of the Dead, do you mean do you mean the holiday or do you mean the movie? That was something of the fuck. No, it was something like man, House of the Dead. House of the Dead. Yes, suffer like G did. Do you like actually fight like full on big ass monsters. Logically, as you do. House of the Dead stri- I was about to say House of the Dead strikes me as the kind of franchise that Japan only makes for America. And then I remembered, isn't Japan actually going through a crazy, big zombie craze right now? I Japan just blinks out of existence. The fucking Pacific Ocean has to fill it back in the hole. It's like Guilty Gear. Like Guilty Gear, Japan has been replaced by a massive fucking sinkhole. And then you're like, all right, the zombie craze is past, and you flip it back on, and just this the sea levels have irreparably sunk because the fucking water has dripped into the core of the earth. Shit. What was that? I stepped on something sharp. Whatever. Keep going. Keep going. Sega. Yeah, Virtual Fighter ain't the beast of a series it was in the late '90s. Poor bastards. Oh man. I mean, the thing is, I don't want to complain too much though, because Sega otherwise is firing on all cylinders. Yakuza, fantastic. Persona, fantastic. Total War, fantastic. Alien, fantastic. The only fucking series that is. Oh wait, I am. How far did I get in my rant? That may have actually been me accidentally putting my hand over the mic speak of the phone's mic. I don't know where that is on the phone. Right. Yeah, so they're hitting on all cylinders for every series except Sonic and Virtual Fighter. And between those two, they've pretty much at this point outright said that Sonic is just their training ground, where they send the new hires to test their mettle. Apparently, it turns out most of the new hires suck. Total War, Yakuza, Persona, Alien, any of those series ruined. No, I'd rather have those. Like Alien Isolation wasn't even my jam. I'm not a first person horror kind of guy, but I'll fucking dive for any more other alien stuff. Like, man, could you imagine if they re-released Alien VR would be pretty nuts. I think they did make a VR version of Alien Isolation. I think they did, and I think it was actually really successful because it was handled very well and because of the aliens. Yeah. All right, 10 customers have died of heart attacks just in the past hour. We'll count this as a successful product. But then chest bursters come out, and you're like, oh no, wait. We've made the reality not virtual enough. We've made it too reality, not enough virtual. Oh shit, I'm getting face fucked by a phallic alien. This is a. I am a fool. Science has gone too far. I have played God. No, they need to summon Jackie. There you go. The aliens can't hang. Do her all. Who? Who? Oh man. Well, that explains the Dreamcast's resounding failure. Oh, that's dumb. I love it. Okay. All right, you are venturing well beyond my territory now. Yeah. Wait. I'm sorry, what? In Yakuza 3? Who the fuck is there that you play as other than Kiryu? Okay, that makes sense. So you're saying most of the game is devoted to setting up the actual plot. I mean, I would think there should be another. I would think there should be, a fair bit of one of the Yakuza games that just focuses on Kiryu's ideal life. You know? Yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing is, Kiryu's a guy who lacks character throughout most of the entry. I don't think giving him a little bit of time is a bad thing. Now, they probably went too far, but yeah. This, were they starting like the transition of Haruka becoming one of the main playable characters even back then? Sure, sure, makes sense. Oh, you're loving it. All right. So there are now sub stories that tie into the main story. But they don't actually tie into the main story at all. They're just there. Okay. Yeah, padding. Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I've heard about one particular sub story that gets weird. Oh, so Nishiki just had Nishiki himself. I don't think he was, but I just look at it, like he seems like the put his dick in anything character. I don't know. I probably am. I'm probably misjudging him just because it's the stereotype of, the relatively straight man who's relatively, avoids sex, always has to have the best friend that will put his dick in anything. Oh, it's okay. I fixed it. Well, throughout Yakuza Zero, they're friends. Oh, and I'm gonna assume Kiryu gets the opportunity to kill this guy, and he's like, "Nah, you're cool." Does someone else step in to kill him where Kiryu technically isn't allowed to? Does Majima just show up and like, hey, Kiryu, I can't let you kill anyone because you're Kiryu-chan, and I love that. And he just whips out a shotgun and fucking blows the guy away. Kiryu's dragging that fucking trash can around everywhere he goes. Like Majima is just murderous Grover by now, or not Grover. What was the Sesame Street one that was in the It's not Grover, is it? Wasn't Grover the blue one? Uh, Oscar the Grouch? Right, and I know I'm not up on my Sesame Street lore, but didn't it turn out at one point that like that trash can is actually like a fucking bag of holding, and he's got a mansion in there? Like that? Yeah, the ketamine that he sells to Lego Yoda. Uh, and now I've just got this idea that Majima like steps into an alternate dimension when he goes inside trash can. Yeah, but it's like even stronger because there are other parts that Majima shows up. Like, can't Majima show up at the telephone clubs dressed up as a woman? Can Majima teleport anywhere as long as he's dressed as a woman? Is Ma? You know what? You're right. We're slowly reaching the conclusion of yeah, Majima's just Faust. Yeah, no kidding. Like, I kind of want Faust to have breakdancing moves now. Hey, he had stupid shit like a manual switch sides button, so wouldn't be what? He might as well take in good suggestions if he's gonna bring in stupid shit like that. He has to be there because it's Majima and everybody loves him. But at the same time, he's Majima. He's an anti-hero. They can't really fit him into the story sometimes. Right. There's definitely before Yakuza 5 and Yakuza 6 where they were like, yeah, we're just going to make Majima a good guy because everybody loves him. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, partially it would just be with Yakuza 4 introducing that his blood brother. Because that's definitely Majima's most sympathetic trait, at least within Japanese culture, that he has that blood brother that he's ultra loyal. He's one of the playable characters in 4 and 5. No, you've seen him before. He was in Yakuza 0. He was Majima's friend, the big ass dude that always wears the fucking fur uh the big ass jacket. The guy he goes into the fucking like convenience store or gas station carrying like two pistols, one in either hand, and an extra pistol in his mouth. Whoops! Spoilers for a game that came out 10 years ago. Yeah, let's go ahead and say spoilers for Yakuza 3, everybody. Who? Okay, I didn't hear that correctly, and I heard Hazuma. Okay, yeah, true. I don't understand how someone can be dead and also not dead. Because I know that there's the one family member who gets put in a wheelchair later on, but That's impressive. That means he's really fucking good at shooting people. That's what it means. Huh. Well, I mean, does he look like Mao? Well, I mean, it does have the three three syllable structure, but I've just been handed spaghetti. Spaghetti also has three syllable structure. I'd like to see a Chinese guy named that spaghetti. Oh yeah, it's easy to forget that because Yakuza Zero is so fucking long. Yeah, fantastic. You've just given me the biggest motivation to fucking reinstall Kiwami One. Yeah, yeah. Yakuza 3 did not have the stance system, right? The stance system was introduced was zero. I think it was because 4 and 5 would not have introduced the stance system because 4 and 5 just had multiple playable characters. Like you don't really need a stance system when you can just entirely switch from playing Kiryu to playing fucking the manager dude or the baseball guy. I mean, I don't know. My mind zips back to money grinding in Yakuza Zero and how much of a pain in the ass it was. So that's true. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Zero I would never have gotten by choice unless I just had absurd amounts of spare money. So it makes sense from that perspective because there's always the thing of not taking optimal stuff, skipping certain skills if you don't find it optimal. But in this system, you don't get to skip it. And if you are forced to take a choice, get a gameplay buff without your consent, you might consider like looking at that rather than just being like, no, I'll stick to what I'm. Because before I would not have bought the buff of plus 20% damage when Kiryu is drunk because that's useless. I don't drink that much. It's a situational buff. I don't like them. But if it forces that on me, guess what? I'm going to just start buying fucking loads of bottles of liquor at the store and downing those every time I get into a fight so I can get the drunk buff, which I would not have gotten before because I don't like situational buffs. But if you have situational buffs, I will use them. People playing video games are stupid. That's the thing. We're very stupid when we play video games. And the video game dev always has to try and counteract that. I feel like there's another thing there. In that Yakuza 0 very much structured its fighting styles around the idea of Rush is better for 1v1ing. Power was better for, 1v5ing. So in there, they figured that you'd invest in both because both are useful for different situations. You wouldn't want to just build one because then you'd be leaving yourself weak in another category. In that case, I think you're just more of a weirdo for having picked to go hard on one and ignore the other. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess if you're like focusing on trying to use a lot of kiting and all that to try and get them separate, a lot of people would just like to settle for though. As soon as they get into a group fight, all right, power style, I'll punch 3 times, you're all dead. Yeah, using the Cody strategy, I see. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh. Ah. Guile does not run, I assure you. Guile sits and fucking waits. Ha! Yeah, you could just say tailing missions, and you're like, I'll be like, oh, well, fuck that. For completely uh, incomprehensible reasons. Yeah. But what if it had a water level that was really good? There's at least one. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there is at least. Oh, shit. Shit. I am trying to think. There is one game that is famous for its really good fucking water level. Ah! I'll bring it up later if I can think of it. All right. On my end, I've actually done a fair bit of stuff, but I'm going to try and rush through as much as I can. All right. First things up on the platter, I have installed, in the anticipation of Gears 5, I installed Gears 4 and Gears 5. And boy, so here's the thing: Gears 5 actually was released early for everyone on Game Pass Ultimate 2 days ago. And I was like, oh, well, I'll be able to play the game ahead of its official release and talk about it on the podcast. It'll be incredible. Servers are fucking annihilated because they figured there won't be that. Yeah, they figured there won't be that many people on Game Pass Ultimate. Oh no, there are a lot of people on Game Pass Ultimate. Oh no. So, yeah, no multiplayer, and I can't talk about the single player yet because I haven't even finished Gears 4 single player. Gears 4 single player. Uh, I mean, there's parts of it I like because the first three Gears games were basically about a. It starts as a war game in Gears of War 1 and slowly progresses to post apocalyptic in Gears 3, which you've said you've played Gears 2 and most of Gears 3, right? How far did you get? After you beat the big fish? Okay, yeah, you stopped really early. Did you even get to see Cole's, get to play the Cole level? Oh, that's sad. So, right. There was a whole thing with the Gears series where Gears 1 is like, oh my god, we're at war. It's a big ass war against these crazy worm zombie dudes who've come out of the ground, the Locust. And Gears 2 is like, man, shit is fucked. Shit could not be any more fucked. Gears 3 is like, there's actually nothing left. There are like 4 groups of humans left in the entire world. Things could not be worse. But then Gears 3 ends very definitively. And it not so much that, but spoilers for Gears 3. So basically, Gears 3's ending, things have gotten as bad as they can get, but it's revealed there is a kill all bad guys button. And they press it. And it kills all bad guys. See, there's a problem to having a kill all bad guys button in your media. That is, if you want to do another sequel, you either need to make that button not work, reveal that there are somehow bad guys who are able to ignore it, or something even wackier. How about the fucking kill all bad guys button? Is, as it turns out, did not kill the bad guys. It just made them comatose and they evolved. Now, with that said, if it just focused on that, I'd actually think Gears 4 would be a lot better. But Gears 4's primary problem is that the first half of the game does not focus on that. The primary half of the game focuses on how humanity rebuilding after the original Gears trilogy has immediately fucked itself. Because there was a whole thing throughout the Gears series, I don't know if you noticed, that the COG were basically these crazy fascist dictator assholes. Like, there are bits of lore that got left out of the original trilogy that are actually pretty important for how they display the COGs being an absolute group of monsters. Do you ever notice there weren't any female soldiers in Gears 1 or Gears 2, and just suddenly there were in Gears 3? You're right, that's because at the time of Gears 1 and Gears 2, all women were forced to have kids. Forced. And when I say forced, I mean forced. The only reason there are female soldiers... Yeah. So, and Gears 3, the government has just fallen apart so badly that the women now pretty much just get to walk out, and they do. And as soon as Gears 3 wraps, legitimately all the heroes of the original Gears trilogy fucking walk out. They legitimately just leave the government and they all go build shacks in the woods. Like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And Gears 4 is trying to make up for how the original Gears trilogy kind of skimped on the lore about how bad the COG is by basically making the COG the main villain. Throughout the entire front half of Gears 4, because I've played through the entire front half by now, throughout all that, you will never fight the Locust, or the Swarm, or the Lambent, or any of the classic alien enemies of Gears of War. No, you fight robots. And with robots, there's some interesting potential there. There's always been a thing to Gears of, yeah, you fight some basic, just third-person shooter dudes, just guys with guns, right? But you also fight a lot of crazy-ass Resident Evil monsters. Like with the Lambent were just straight-up Resident Evil 4 tentacle monsters. And meat monsters, And then with, robots, you got some space. They didn't use at all. Because the robots are all humanoid. But they're worse. Because they're slightly tankier than humans. Slightly. Not enough to make a meaningful gameplay change, but slightly. Most of the time, they also don't like to use cover. They don't run. They just walk. Some of them are smart enough to take cover. Most of them aren't. So you just have slowly walking towards you robots with shit guns and slightly more health than humans. And throughout the entire first half of the game, you are fighting what amounts to training dummies. Uh-huh. Uh-huh, yeah. Yeah, imagine my reaction. It starts up like fucking act 3. I have put up through like 7 or 8 straight levels of fighting just fucking robots that are not putting up any fight whatsoever, are not introducing any kind of tactical like challenge, nothing new to the gameplay. And it's sad though, because the robots come with some new guns, and the new guns are actually pretty interesting. One's just a boring SMG, and that's one. But one is a shotgun that does the strangest thing I've ever seen a gun do at a shooting game. What it does is it fires twice with every pull of the trigger. How it handles it is when you pull the trigger in, it fires once, and then it fires again when you release the trigger. And it only counts as one shell for both shots for each pull of the trigger. It's very weird, yeah. And there's a sniper rifle that it's a charge up shot, and there's a specific window of time you need to do it. Because if you don't hit it in a specific time, then it just vents and you need to charge up again. Which it's a bit more interesting to just charge up the weapon, to have it be a timing based. I think Halo already did that. There was at least one game where you get burned if you let your gun too hot. I remember that. So yeah, Gears 4 at the time when it came out, everybody just kind of went, for good reason. The new main character is Marcus Phoenix's son, who is just very terribly generic. Not yet. That's Gears 5. Gears 5, they were like, okay, clearly Marcus Phoenix's son isn't working. Let's switch to the chick. Cause yeah, like this far in the story already, the chick is way more interesting than Marcus's son. She's got a whole thing going on with her family because her family is like, it's big spoilers part of it, but her family is like one of the bigger communities of non-cog like leaders. Uh, yeah, they're secret locusts. The locusts have figured out how to wear human skin. They're not even doing it well. It's like Edgar from Men in Black. Like you know that gif of Edgar from Men in Black where he's like walking on fucking stilts, stumbling all over the place. Yeah, yeah. And then you look at the multiplayer, and for one thing, Gears 4 came out right in the stark middle of the loot box era, and it shows. Because you look over your character selection, and it's like, oh, you can play as Kate or Neon Kate, Day of the Dead Kate, Skull Kate, uh, Rainbow Warrior Kate, all this kind of shit. And all, of course, you start with default Kate, and you have to fucking unlock all that through none other than loot boxes, a ton of weapon skins, a ton of like skill cards, that kind of thing, you know? Joy of joys. There was something I had to praise for it though, but it doesn't pop into mind. I will. The gameplay is still Gears. There was one neat addition they made. They added where you can fucking reach to the other side of cover and grab whoever's on the opposite side of cover and drag them over to your side, and it puts them in a temporary stun state where you can instant melee kill them. Yeah, like Gears has always been a very aggressive cover shooter. That only encourages people to be more aggressive. I think that they've also always had the thing of if you jump over a piece of cover and land on somebody, they get hurt. But now it not only hurts them, it puts them in that melee stun state as well. There's like there's unique executions you can do to somebody who's been stunned that way. It's pretty neat. But yeah, I'm pretty underwhelmed with it so far. I'll finish it just so I can get the plot and so I can say, yeah, I've played Gears 4. But Gears 5 is what I'm more excited for. Because the critical reviews are actually really fucking good for Gears 5. and it's getting some accolades that are rather surprising. Gears 5 is the first ever AAA game to get a 6 out of 6 rating for the hard of hearing and like the deaf playing the game. Yeah, it's actually got some nuts shit. So there's one thing that I never thought of, but like in hindsight, it's like, wow, why is Gears the first to do this? The subtitles will tell you when the music starts and stops. Because it's Gears. The music stopping is what tells you when the fight is over. That's actually vital information to be able to know when the music starts and stops. And you can, on that kind of level, yeah. The When you start the game up, by the way, it's one of those wonderful games where I love when a game starts off immediately with, "Hey, do you want subtitles on?" Because the answer is always yes, but I always forget to do it. Like, is that not just the thing you always do with every fucking game? You start up, hit new game, and somebody starts talking, you don't see text, and you're like, fuck! Back to the main menu with me! Hang on. No, I think it's smartest just to start them off in a menu. Because there are some people for whom subtitles can ruin their immersion, in which case we gotta respect them as well. I think it's better to do it before they even get in there. Because it should be a choice. It should be both sides are respected equally. You know? Because I think it's actually a 50-50 split on whether or not you use subtitles. 50% players do, 50% don't. I don't know how old or reliable the statistic is. But another thing, it's got all the proper settings too. You can set whether the subtitles have a background, a black background, so that even if it's over something white going on screen, you can tell what it's saying. You can set text size. That shit's important because go ahead. Oh yeah, subtitles are like kind of a lost art. Well, not a lost art. Subtitles are a very complicated art, more complicated than people think. Because another thing with subtitles is subtitles have to have to properly imitate the pacing of the dialogue itself. Because how many times are there where you've been playing a game and the subtitles spoil a line like a fucking half a minute before somebody says it? Like it spoils the big reveal because the big reveal comes at the end of the sentence, right? Yeah, that sounds right. Because Witcher just has this absolute shit ton of dialogue. They aren't going to put in the time to parse all that shit out. The So it does all that. Another thing I want to say, it does start off with a mandatory tutorial, but thankfully it's a very fast one. I think it is one of the ones you can quit at any time. But it has my favorite fucking thing. You know what my favorite fucking thing is? The game starts up and it tells you, all right, look up. It doesn't tell you how to look up. It just says, look up. And it assumes you've probably played a video game before if you've played Gears 5, if you're playing Gears 5. And God forbid for the poor bastards who Gears 5 is their first video game, whoever they are. But the majority of people, the overwhelming majority of people who are playing Gears 5 have played a video game. And in that moment, it just says, look up. and you will either press up on the right stick or you will press down on the right stick. And based on which direction you press, that will set whether it's on normal style camera or inverted. Yeah, that's the good shit right there. I think it does a lot of that hidden stuff in the tutorial where it's setting your options menu up for you. It's difficult to tell, which is good. When they can hide shit like that from you, it's pretty neat. And of course, they added a ton. The strangest addition that actually makes a ton of sense. So you remember the Gears active reload system, right? If you time it perfectly, you can get, special bullets. They're specially loaded. Yeah, yeah. No, what it is, there's a specific little white chunk on the reload meter there. If you perfectly if you perfectly time it, then the bullets that you reload into the clip, only the ones that you reload into the clip, so it's usually better to spend all your bullets in the clip before reloading. But they are all much more powerful. They're like all critical hits, guaranteed. And so to add on to that mechanic, Gears 5 made it where you can reload at any time, even if you've got a full clip. Which, on one hand, is probably pretty funny in multiplayer, where it's like, all right, let's move up. Oh, wait, I'm trying to get the perfect reload. Hang on, give me a second. He's just fucking unloading and reloading the gun constantly. I nearly got it. Give me just a second. I want to get my magic bullets. Yeah, no kidding. Oh man, the biggest blessing there is that in older Gears games you would lose the magic bullet effect if you put the gun away. That was a pain in the ass. And now you don't have to worry about that because as soon as you whip your gun out, immediately reload it. Which is kind of funny when you think about it. And I did play a little bit of offline horde mode. It's the only game mode I played for a little bit. My God. My fucking God. So they turned horde mode into a hero-based thing. Now all characters get different loadouts, different abilities, all that. And I looked over the selection. All right, we got, your normals. We got Marcus is there. We got Kate. She's there. We got two guys from Halo Reach. Okay. Sarah fucking Connor from Terminator. Like, you can actually get stickers and flags of Forza. Or any of the other major Microsoft games. Like, you can get a Sea of Thieves banner. Oh. Well, I can live without it if I get Sarah Connor. And of course, she's a tank. But you haven't watched Terminator. That's the second. Well, that describes any of them except the first. Yeah, that's the second one. That's the second one. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit busy. Yes, that is definitely the one that is the distinctive Sarah Connor that everybody. And she's there. But then I saw one that was just all kinds of fantastic. Do you remember that there was a little floating robot helper in some of the older Gears games? Well, there was. He was this little flying drone that followed you around. He helped to open doors. He was named Jack. And he stuck around throughout the entire series, though he tends to disappear at an alarming rate. And when I say disappear, I mean literally disappear. He actually disappears, turns invisible. But he's actually following you throughout the majority of the games. And he, for the first time, is a playable character in Horde mode. Despite not being anywhere near human, he is just a tiny little flying cute drone with little headlights for eyes. And he's fantastic. Because he doesn't play like a Gears character. Well, it's Horde mode, so it's not really cheating. You're only fighting against the AI. But fighting against the AI, it's not cheating, it's optimal strategy. You know what I mean? Well, it becomes optimal strategy in multiplayer when everyone picks Jack. And it just becomes ace combat. Well, the thing is, when everybody starts doing it, and there winds up forming a meta around that tactic in particular. It's like in Overwatch, are we going to say Reinhardt's cheap? No, it's just that Reinhardt's now become a core mechanic of the game. Everybody has to pick Reinhardt. Still better than the actual Everybody Loves Raymond show. It's a fact. So, yeah, I never heard of it in my life. But here's the thing about Jack. Not only is he a tiny little flying cute drone, not only is he actually kind of the fastest character on the roster, because he can fly, of course he is, he's got a variety of wacky buffs. So for one thing, he on his right trigger, he has Mercy's heal beam, or the medics, depending on your choice. On his left trigger, he has Moira's suck beam. Whenever he isn't using either of his beams, he is cloaked. Entirely cloaked. And the enemies just ignore him. So imagine if Mercy was just entirely invincible anytime she wasn't healing. Yeah, yeah. It's fucking... Yeah. Medics that are only vulnerable while healing. That's actually... The dagger gives people the suck. Yeah, like Moira. And Jack can do a couple other things. He can use fucking tow cables to drag guns around the map. So there are some times where the other players aren't going to want to leave their little safe space they've built out of like all kinds of different armories and weapons and all kinds of shit. So Jack just goes out and fucking grabs a rifle and dumps it at another player's feet. And it's the funniest thing to see this tiny, cute little robot. He just flies over and grabs an assault rifle. And he flies over to a human like, here, am I a good dog? Feels like I'm going out to get the fucking newspaper here, you know? Except instead of a newspaper, it's a fucking rocket launcher. Oh, without a doubt. And another thing about Gears, about the Gears 5 Horde mode, there used to be, in Gears 3, they introduced the idea of having money that you build up and you can spend on improvement. Build turrets or build barbed wire, that kind of thing. Gears 5 changes it so that every character has different things they can build. And what Jack can do, Jack can build a weapons station, and he can just pick up weapons and put them in the weapon station, and it slowly refills them with ammo. Or he can just make a fucking smeltery that he dumps weapons into, and it eats the weapons and gives him additional money. And, oh, and there's one more thing, because I'm quickly discovering Jack is one of my favorite fucking character builds in anything ever. It's that moment where it's like, I don't... now the rest of the roster is irrelevant to me because I really like this guy in particular. You know how you're having with Mortal Kombat with Ermac? Like, the rest of the roster of Mortal Kombat is pointless to you. It's all about Ermac. I'm having this moment with Jack. Because Jack also has an exclusive thing where he can hand other people his money. So he's just going to go, after every round when they kill all the enemies, Jack just goes and snatches up all the guns and fucking sells them off. And then it hands out paydays to everyone else. This is Pink's character incarnate. Somehow I could just see, like, I could just see him going up to you and, like, making it rain, you know? No kidding. Oh, Kate, the main chick, she can turn invisible. And she's also got very beefy melee skills comparative to most of the roster. Other than that, yeah, I'll have to put in more time. Because I haven't actually played with any of the humans yet. But here's the wacky thing. I Yeah, we're all Jack now. Like, the enemies just spawn in and they're like, alright, let's go kill those humans. And it's fucking flying robots come up and start sucking them. We're all Robo Dracula. Deal with it. You're gonna suck up your guns for cash. But we wouldn't have anything to spend the money on, though, because the only things you can fucking buy with the money are support tools. Refilling everybody else's ammo or making more money. We should just throw the money at each other. Or throw it off the cliff. Dump it in the fucking trash. The Batman method. Oh, man. But there's one last bit of praise I got for Gears 5, and I think this is one you're really going to appreciate. So what's a thing that pisses you off with every game that has online multiplayer? Exactly. And here's the thing. They always just leave the slots empty. They don't ever make AI for the Horde mode equivalent. Sometimes they don't even bother for versus mode. Gears 5 is the first game I've ever played that you can play Horde mode with AI teammates. A full roster of AI teammates. And they're all Carmines, but still, it's something. Admittedly, it being Carmine, I wish he had a special ability for his head to just explode. But, you know. Yeah, basically, imagine if Yamcha never gets brought back, so instead it's just a bunch of Yamcha siblings. And every Yamcha death is just a different Yamcha sibling. Yeah, they all have the same personality. Yeah, except for one. There's one who's ultra muscular, badass, and survives all kinds of things he shouldn't. And that's the Yamcha from Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Gears 3's Carmine was the one that was the ultra badass who survives everything. Because Gears 1 and Gears 2 both had started the tradition of a Carmine brother dies, and Gears 3, because at the time they were thinking it would be the last one. They're like, well, let's bring in a Carmine that'll live this time. And oh yeah, it's the fastest one yet. Gears 1, the Carmine makes it maybe 30 minutes. Gears 2, the Carmine makes it, like, honest to God, 2 or 3 hours. Gears 4, the Carmine doesn't even make it 5 minutes. Legitimately, it shows up. Yeah. No, like the fucking beginning of Act 2, you show up and you're like, oh, hey, it's a Carmine. And the Carmine's like, I'm going to go sit on the anti-air gun on the wall. And then immediately a fucking boulder flies out and smacks him down off the wall. It's really great. Like, it's one of my favorite dialogue bits in the, because Kate's uncle is like this big drunk Mexican badass type character, and of course he's got a pro wrestler alternate attire because why wouldn't he? And he comes up and he goes, "Hey, I trained Carmine myself. He's a real badass." Legitimately, as he says that, the boulder hits Carmine off the wall, and he goes, "No!" Like, you set yourself up for failure, man. Oh yeah, the Gears games have not hesitated to add more comedy with each entry. So do you remember with Gears 3 on the boat how Dom had just started making fucking planning, making gardens all over the boat, and that's pretty much all Dom did? When the Lambent attacked the boat, Dom goes, "Oh, my fucking tomatoes!" And everybody thought that was hilarious. Dom screaming about his tomatoes in the middle of a giant fight where he might die. So in Gears 4, you visit Marcus's ranch. There is a greenhouse filled with tomatoes. Of course, most of it gets attacked by robots, and Marcus goes, "Oh, my fucking tomatoes!" like Dom. But they added an extra Easter egg. If you go around and deliberately smash every tomato, Marcus then goes on a long ass winded rant. "Those are my fucking tomatoes. I fucking hate you. Can't. I can't grow fucking. It ain't easy to grow a greenhouse out here. You think there's a fucking Home Depot? Those are Dom's tomatoes, man. That was last I had a Dom." And he just keeps going for a fucking hour before eventually ending it by saying "fuck Baird." And then a single large tomato grows that if you go and interact with it, it gives you 6 tomato grenades. Tomatoes that are just grenades. Oh, did you ever see Gears 3's secret boss Easter egg? Yes, the chicken, the pipe chicken. I don't think Gears 1 had a goofy Easter egg like that, but Gears 2 had one I just learned of this morning, actually. The Gears 2 cowboy hat Easter egg. Did you ever hear that one? I just heard about it. When you're on that little moving tank digger thing with the cowboy Dizzy, there's a section where before you get going, you can find 3 cowboy hats and shoot them. If you do that for the remainder of the scene, everybody will be wearing cowboy hats. Even the gigantic ass spider monster that attacks you at the end. And when it bursts out of the ground, ordinarily it's supposed to make a big screeching sound, but if you have the cowboy hat Easter egg on, it instead just goes, "Yeehaw!" Yeah. It's fantastic. So yeah, Gears 5 is fantastic. And the last thing I've got to talk about this week is Civilization 5. I got into it. I don't even remember why. I honestly forget why. But I was like, you know what? I played Civ 5 a ton with Soon back in the day. I played Civ 4 a ton with Soon back in the day. I sucked at it. I want to not suck. And Civ 4, well, Civ 4 can at times be a more fun and quickly structured game than Civ 5. Civ 4 is also infamously complex. So that was not the one I was going to try and get good at. So Civ 5 was up on the table. And yes, Civ 5 is a game that definitely gets better the more you try to play better at it. It's something I wanted to talk with Pink about actually because he's playing Civ 6 so much right now. But Civ 5, it was controversial at the time, though it's now coming to be viewed as a classic. Though I think that's a Civilization tradition that every Civ game that comes out is controversial at the time, then becomes a fucking classic. You know that shit. The series where every new entry is like and give it 5 years, and everybody's like, "Oh, I love it. I play it every day." But Civ 5, so I found out it's important to manage your cities. It actually is. Food is important. You should be spending most of your early game doing nothing but farming food and science. Because food equals science, and science equals upgrading pretty much everything else in the game. Part of my mistake. Yes. Science equals everything. My problem with Civ was I always assumed, oh, well, there are certain civilizations that are better suited for science, and there's some that aren't. I figured science was just a option you chose as an investment, right? But at the same time, it would be perfectly viable to also instead ignore it in favor of. focusing more on food or culture or religion or military. No, everybody has to take science. Everybody has to focus on it. Unless you're someone like the Aztecs or the Huns who can focus on just trying to annihilate everyone else while they're focusing on building science. Unless you're one of those guys, get science as soon as possible. It's not a question. It's the way to play the game. Which in hindsight makes sense. Because there are several civilizations that do a lot better in the early game, the ancient era, like the Aztecs, the Huns, the Romans. But like even guys that are just doing better in the medieval era, like the Mongols, or you want to rush there as soon as possible. And it changes the game altogether for those civs. It's very different from how I used to play. Because ordinarily I was just structuring it and trying to keep everything evenly balanced as I went along. And it turns out, no, that's a massive fuck up. Rush science, get to your civilization's best units, and try to exploit them to beat everyone else's ass. And then get nuked by Gandhi. Your best hope is that Gandhi won't last that long. Because if Gandhi does last that long, then yeah, whoops, oh no. Well, no. It's the vital thing. Gandhi is the most pacifist until he develops nukes. Up until then, he's as peaceful as it gets. But as soon as nukes enter the picture, get fucked. Which, you do know why Gandhi did that in the first Civ game, right? In the edition? Yeah. Now, I don't know if any other civs are particularly known for nukes. I would assume the far more aggressive civs like the Aztecs and the Zulu are going to stick to it as well. But you know what? Who's an AI civilization I've learned to hate? England. Yeah. Nothing quite makes you feel like the. Yeah. England is just. Yeah. Because they're pissy throughout the entire game. As soon as you enter the Renaissance era, they are just enormous pains in your ass. Like, it is genuinely, if you have a civ that is capable of it and run into England in the early game, kill them. Wipe them out. Because they will only become a bigger problem over time. Yeah. And it was really bad because I was playing as Greece, who get hoplites and companion cavalry in the early game, which make them a fantastic military power in the ancient era. England was sitting right there. I figured, it's fine. We'll probably get along just fine. We're cool. Then England enters the Renaissance era. And it's like, Hail Britannia. The sun never sets on the British Empire. It's definitely interesting. Like, also, just playing more Civ, you start to understand more and more the mistakes you're making. Which is always the nicest thing in a game, when you get to the point where you understand why you failed. Because I think that's the worst thing in a game, is when you fail, and then you're like, what did I even do wrong? I don't know. Would I say that's probably the worst feeling there is in a game? Right, but how many games outside of the Impossible game expect you to do that? I mean, yeah, before this era, a ton. Before this era, a ton. If we go back to the NES and SNES era, absolutely. And with a lot of the classic games from that era, there is definitely a lot of that feeling of, what did I even do wrong? Flash. Well, I mean, there is a Black Flash. There has been one for a while now. When did they introduce? Yeah, Wally. They made Wally black in New 52. Yeah. Hell no. The elect. I know about the fucking electric weeds, the seaweed. Yeah. That sounds very Castlevania-y. I've definitely heard a lot of talk about NES TMNT, but it was more about the seaweed than it was about the jump. Though that may be simply because a lot of people had the Genesis. Okay, right. Which, yeah, I think that's probably the end of that point, though. Civ 5, good time. Gears 5, good time. Lots of fiving going on here. Might as well throw DMC 5 in the mix. Yeah, that's a real good time. And I don't think I've got too much more to say about Civ 5, at least without Pink here to really talk about Civ, because like you said, you've only played Civ 1, right? Yeah. Yeah, starting with the Aztecs as neighbors is not fantastic. oh, oh no. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. I mean, England was a pain in the ass. I don't want to imagine what it was like starting off with an angry England next to you. Oh, Jesus. Civ, Civ AI is a strange and unique machine indeed. Ah, the I mean, of course, it is worth mentioning that like I don't know very much about Civ One at all, besides the classic thing of Gandhi saying everything with "We back up our words with the threat of nuclear weapons." But other than that, I don't know a great deal. But later Civs, for one thing, there are by the time Civ 5 was finished with the Brave New World expansion and all the DLCs, there were 42 civilizations in the game. The biggest map in the game, the huge level map, can only have 12 civilizations on it, unless you like manually go in and edit more in. So the odds of you getting the Aztecs at all in your game are quite slim, and the odds of you getting the Aztecs as neighbors are extra slim. So there's that at least. Of course, there's also the Zulu and the Songhai and the Romans and the Greeks. And let me tell you, the Greeks are really pissy. But it's different. Or you could be real lucky and start next to like the Netherlands or the Iroquois. And they're like, hey, want to have some wine? Cool. We'll take some of your incense. Radical. You're just trading shit back and forth like friends. Gandhi nukes your Elizabeth. England discovers sailing. What's that? You have tea over there? I'm coming on over. All right. I think we can call that a podcast. I can't see any of the memes. Oh wait, I can. Okay, I forgot I have the PC right here. Exit the call. Oh, all right. Of course they did. That makes too much sense. Is that it? All right. Hang on, I did have one. You know, we didn't talk about Terry and Smash because, well, the first thing to say is Terry and Smash. Hey, we both love Terry. I'm very okay. I feel like Pink's more okay than either of us expected. Yeah, some history with. Yeah, the okay. Can you throw down a timestamp? Terry works really well for Smash. He's a little bit different. He's different enough. He's kind of in Shoto territory, but not too bad. The international reactions summarize. I have no idea. I just found this meme on the internet and posted it. I don't even know if they're adding Mai. I could see them adding her as an assist character, maybe, but other than that. I want to say it's just Terry because they didn't add any assist characters for Persona, Dragon Quest, or Banjo Kazooie. I don't know. I feel like Geese getting to be in Tekken already is enough. Well, if you want to make those kind of stretches, it's already there. Because Geese and Terry very much exist in the same universe. I just love that the Latin America audience is losing its shit for all of them. What? No, like, it would actually be worse. I wouldn't like that as well. There's already a character that does that. There's already a character that does that. Not only Ganondorf, also Bowser, also Ridley. There's an absurd amount of characters with suicide grabs. Donkey Kong, of course, is the most famous. The gigantic pressure. Yeah. Well, I mean, he has multiple supers, and I think that's something worth mentioning with Terry here. Terry has multiple supers. Like, if they leave out Buster Wolf or Power Geyser, either one would be an injustice. I think both are equally iconic for. Oh, can I just mention? Did you get to see the trailer they showed at Nintendo Direct revealing him? Oh, you need to watch it. It's the best. It opens on the classic KOF arcade opening of Kyo reaching out to get the letter, right? But the letter flies away right before Kyo reaches for it, and Kyo's hand like starts shaking, like no. It cuts over to Rio. Rio does his big dash to try and catch it, misses. Cuts over to Joe and Andy. They both dive for it. They miss. It flies to the top of fucking Geese Howard's tower. Geese Geese dives for it over the side, falls to his death. It's honest to God when fucking Terry kills him. When Terry kills him and makes Rock Howard an orphan, but Terry's not there at all. Geese just stupidly dives off the side to try and get the Smash invitation. Yeah, it actually is. That's the thing. Because they chose that because it's Geese's most iconic moment. That's Nightmare Geese. Yeah, yeah. They could just bring back Rugal for an ultimate match someday. They haven't yet, but here's the thing: now that KOF is in 3D, making new characters is cheaper than ever. So they could totally probably just bring back Rugal if there's enough demand. I, why would Rugal wait all this time? It's been practically a decade. I mean, in real life, it's been more. It's in real life, it's been 20 years, but in game, it's been like a decade. And he never told his kids that he was back either. He, oh man. Remember when we thought we were going to end this podcast? SNK Women's Team 2020. My Blue Mary Rugal. Lucky D. It's both. It's both. He's a boxer that throws basketballs. He's a fucking Barkley Guidance Shut Up and Jam character. Oh man. Okay, so here's the other thing though. They confirmed there are going to be 5 more characters after this pack. Now, now obviously it's time for speculation to begin again. But here's the thing. They never said whether they would be third party or first party. All the DLC for this season was third party, but there might be first party characters in this new season. Now, we we all know the worst possible scenario is Sakurai's like, "Oh, look at that, another Fire Emblem game came out. Guess what? 5 more Fire Emblem characters." Does it have Edgelord chick on there? No, that's cool. But hang on. Out of the first party selections, we know the worst, but I think we know the best. We know the best. Say it. Fool. No, you know the best. Who is the one that is demanded? You're trying to dodge it. You can't avoid it forever. Waluigi will chase you to the ends of the earth. That's fair. I would not care. I mean, Rare is back on the table now, so I I don't actually want Waluigi. I don't want any more first party characters. I'm good, bro. I'm done. What the fuck was that? Oh no! Is your house now flooded with boxes? You'll never get free. You must learn to live among you must learn to live amongst the boxes. Make a box house, eat box food, take a box wife, have box children. Oh man. I want Doom Guy. All right, let's wrap this podcast up. Doom Guy and Dante. Give me both. I'd be cool with that because Dante and Bayonetta actually do play very similarly. Like, the stiletto is just the stinger. And I mean, Doom Guy doesn't have anyone he could probably be an echo of. Doom Guy's entire arm is replaced with a shotgun. I feel like Doom Guy would actually be happy. I should have done this years ago. I am? Is the mic down here? Now can you not hear? Okay, I've definitely found the mic then. This is weird. It's on the bottom of the phone. This is weird. Can I pop the mic like fucking crazy? Cool. Or any reaction video. All right. Oh yeah. All right. We want to go ahead and let's go ahead and ramp this up because I got almost no sleep last night. I'm gonna go immediately into a nap. Mod, mod world. Majima is the world. Oh, speaking of the fucking world, before we wrap this up, did you see that shit about that Billie Eilish chick going around fucking wearing a shirt that Billie Eilish, the pop star that just got real popular real recently. She was she was going around. She fucking posted a picture on like Instagram or something. I saw earlier. She of her wearing a shirt that is just Dio and the world from JoJo. Is that not the weirdest thing? Because she's like the biggest pop star right now, and she's just fucking going around making JoJo references. Is she supposed to be a big weeb? I don't know. I didn't see Kurt Cobain walking around wearing a Akira stuff or Berserk. Admittedly, Akira was fairly big in the States because it was pretty much the first exposure America had to anime, particularly particularly adult anime. I think it was I think it was more on the good side. I don't think it was great, but I think it was good. It's a movie that takes its time in some parts. In some parts, it does not. Oh, hey, Tetsuo is here. Oh no, Tetsuo's a meat monster. It's a very slow 90% and then a very, very fast 10%. Shit goes from not fucked to mega fucked very quickly. Yeah. All right, folks. Addie, say bye. All right. We will see you later, people.